Good morning. I am Gila Miona. While reflecting on a recent gospel I preached last week, entitled Jesus Found Nothing But Leaves, this was a Christmas reflection. I was pleasantly surprised to discover that several podcasters had analyzed its contents and many others. Their insights and discussions perfectly captured the essence of the idea I conveyed, offering fresh perspective and deeper engagement with the message. It is both humbling and encouraging to see how the gospel resonated and inspired meaningful conversations. I now invite you to listen to this podcast here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for always tuning in. Here's another one of your favorite tunes. Stay stuck.
Welcome to the Dive In. Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're really going to be getting into it with this one.
Yeah.
We're going beyond the surface of Guy Lamowona's Jesus Found Nothing But Leaves.
That's right.
So buckle up, because we are about to uncover some pretty surprising insights about faith and tradition.
This one I think you'll find particularly interesting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Lamawona really challenges, I think, some assumptions that we have about what constitutes genuine spirituality.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So he starts by dropping us right into the heart of Jerusalem during Passover.
Right.
Can you set the scene for us? What would it have been like to be there?
So imagine a city just teeming with life. Passover was a massive pilgrimage festival.
Right.
So people would have traveled from all corners of the Roman Empire to get to Jerusalem.
Wow.
The marketplace would have been overflowing with merchants.
Yeah.
And the streets would have been packed.
With a mix of locals and travelers.
Oh, wow.
All this right outside the temple, the epicenter of Jewish faith.
So that creates a kind of a clash, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You would think Passover would be a time for quiet reflection and not this bustling, almost carnival-like atmosphere.
That's exactly the tension I think that Lamawona is highlighting here.
Okay.
He argues that this contrast is key to understanding what Jesus encounters next.
Because then Jesus enters the temple and things take a dramatic turn.
Right.
Like it's not just a party atmosphere.
Picture this.
Okay.
You've got the sights and sounds of commerce, animals being sold for sacrifice, money changers clinking coins, all happening within the courtyard of the temple.
Right.
A place meant for prayer and communion with God has become, well, a marketplace.
That's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
It seems like more than just a logistical issue, though. What is Lamawona getting at here?
He's suggesting that this scene symbolizes a deeper problem.
Okay.
The potential for religious practice to become empty ritual. All this outward activity might look pious, but it's potentially masking a lack of genuine connection to God.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's not that celebrating festivals or participating in rituals is inherently bad.
Right.
It's more about making sure those actions are aligned with inner spiritual depth.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Lamawona wants us to see that true faith is more than just going through the motions.
So to drive this point home, he brings up this story of Jesus cursing the fig tree.
Right.
And on the surface, it seems like a harsh reaction. Why would Jesus curse a tree for not bearing fruit when it wasn't even fig season?
That's where the symbolism comes in.
Oh, okay.
Think about the significance of fig trees in the Bible.
Yeah.
They often represent Israel's spiritual state. So a healthy fig tree bursting with fruit symbolizes a nation flourishing in faith and obedience to God.
I see.
Right.
So a barren fig tree would represent the opposite.
Yes, exactly.
Spiritual emptiness or a lack of true connection with God.
That's right.
And by cursing the fig tree, even though it wasn't the season for figs, Jesus is making a powerful statement.
Yeah.
He's highlighting the hypocrisy of outward appearances without the corresponding inner fruit. And it's like putting on a show of faith without the substance to back it up.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And Lamawona suggests that this isn't just a problem for the people of Jesus' time. It's something we can all fall prey to even today.
So he's saying that we can all become like that fig tree, focusing so much on the externals of faith that we neglect the inner work of spiritual growth.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're all in the same boat here.
We are.
And I think that's where things start to get really personal for each of us.
I agree.
Because we have to ask ourselves, what fruit are we producing in our own lives?
Right.
Are we all leaves and no substance?
That's the question.
That's a tough one.
It is.
But before we delve into that,
okay,
I want to understand this fig tree metaphor a bit more.
Okay.
Lama Moana seems to be suggesting it's connected to something even bigger, something ominous.
You're picking up on something crucial there.
Okay, good.
He argues that the withered fig tree foreshadows a much larger event.
Okay.
The future destruction of the temple.
Wait, he's saying there's a direct link.
He is.
Okay.
Yes.
Between a barren fig tree.
Yes.
And the destruction of the most sacred site in Judaism.
Yes. It's a bold claim.
Wow.
But Lamona believes that Mark, the gospel writer, is deliberately drawing this parallel. He wants us to see the fate of the fig tree as a symbolic warning of what will befall the temple.
Because the temple, just like the fig tree, will ultimately be judged.
That's all.
For its lack of genuine fruit, despite its outward grandeur.
That's right.
So it's like the temple itself has become a kind of barren fig tree.
Exactly.
All leaves no substance.
And he's not just talking about the physical building. He's referring to the people who inhabit it.
Okay.
The religious leaders, the practices, the entire system.
Oh, wow.
He's saying that the focus has shifted from genuine connection with God to something else entirely.
Something more focused on outward appearances and empty rituals.
Precisely.
Okay. So that's where things start to get really uncomfortable for us.
Yeah.
Because Lama Moana then turns his attention to the Christian church.
Right.
He suggests that we as followers of Christ can fall into the same trap.
Yeah.
We can become so preoccupied with outward religious activity
that
we neglect the inner work of cultivating true spirituality.
Yeah.
So we're not off the hook just because we're not ancient Israelites living in Jerusalem?
Not at all. He's saying that we can also build our own temples, our churches, our communities, our lives that are outwardly impressive, but inwardly empty.
This is definitely making me think about my own faith journey. I'm starting to wonder, am I focusing too much on the leaves in my own life?
That's a question we all need to ask ourselves.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I think that's a great place to pause for now.
Okay.
And let that question sink in.
Yeah.
We'll come back and explore what Lama Moana suggests we can do about it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Walking through the garden under skies so blue, searching for the fruits that should be in full view. All I find are shadows, no substance in the air. A hollowed out promise leaves me standing there. Candles burn so brightly on this sacred night, but the heart is empty like a whispered sigh. Songs of joy and cheer echo in the hall, but without true meaning they crumble and they fall. Nothing but leaves on this holy tree, forgotten the essence of what we seek to be. Dressed in tradition, yet missing the core. Leaves without fruit, we need something more.
Thank you for always tuning in. Here's another one of your favorite tunes. Stay stuck.
Okay, I've been doing some serious soul searching over here. That image of the barren fig tree really stuck with me.
Yeah.
So how do we ensure that we aren't just putting on a show of faith? How do we cultivate that inner substance Lama Moana talks about?
Well, he actually offers some really practical advice.
Okay.
He draws a fascinating comparison to the story of Martha and Mary. You know, the sisters who hosted Jesus in their home.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Martha was bustling around getting everything ready.
Oh, right.
While Mary just sat at Jesus's feet listening to him teach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Lamona uses this seemingly simple story to illustrate a profound point.
Okay.
He argues that while there's nothing wrong with Martha's hospitality, her busyness caused her to miss out on something essential.
That deeper connection with Jesus.
You got it.
That Mary experienced by simply being present with him.
And remember, Jesus himself said to Martha, only one thing is necessary.
Which was, of course, to choose The better part.
Right.
The part that couldn't be taken away.
Yeah.
Being present with him.
Lemawona suggests that this one thing applies to us today.
Okay.
It's about cultivating that inner space where we can connect with the divine, whatever that looks like for each of us.
So it's not that outward actions are bad.
Right.
But they need to flow from that place of interconnection. Rather than becoming empty rituals.
Precisely.
He's not advocating for a purely passive faith.
No.
Sitting around all day contemplating our navels.
Right.
He's saying that our actions should be grounded in something deeper.
Yeah.
Something more substantial. It makes me think about those times when I've been so caught up in preparing for a religious event or holiday that I completely miss the point.
Yeah.
All that effort.
Right.
But without the heart behind it.
It's a trap we can all fall into.
Yep. For sure.
Think about how this plays out in our modern context.
Okay.
We can get so busy with church programs, social media posts about faith, even charitable activities, that we lose sight of the why behind it all.
It's like we're so busy polishing the apple.
That's a fantastic analogy.
That we forget to tend to the tree itself.
And Lemawona goes as far as to say that this kind of outward focus can actually be offensive to God.
Wow. That's a strong statement.
It is.
But it makes sense if you think about it. If our faith is all about appearances, it becomes more about us than about a genuine relationship with the divine.
He's challenging us to go deeper. To ask ourselves, is my faith a performance or a transformation?
That's a really good question.
It is.
But I also feel like Lemawona isn't just pointing fingers. He's offering a path forward.
He is.
So how do we cultivate that inner spirituality alongside our outward actions?
He gives a deceptively simple piece of advice. The flesh, he says, does not take precedence over the things of the spirit.
Break that down for me.
Okay.
What does that actually look like in everyday life?
It's about prioritizing practices that nourish our souls. Making time for prayer, meditation, reflection, even spending time in nature. Whatever helps you connect with that deeper dimension of yourself.
So it's about actively creating space for those things.
Exactly.
Not just hoping they'll magically happen in the midst of our busy schedules.
And it also involves being mindful of the choices we make throughout the day. Are we acting out of love, compassion, and generosity? Or are we letting our ego, our fears, and our desires drive our actions?
It's about that alignment we talked about earlier. Making sure our outward lives reflect our inner values.
And that kind of intentionality requires constant self-reflection.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We need to be honest with ourselves about where we're falling short and where we can grow.
This is starting to sound like a lot of work.
It is.
Yeah.
But Lemawona would say it's the most important work we can do. Because it's about aligning ourselves with what truly matters.
And what are the fruits of this inner work? What does a life marked by the things of the spirit actually look like?
That's where Lemawona's message becomes truly inspiring. He actually provides a list of these fruits.
He does?
He does.
What are they?
He lists them as love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
That's quite the list.
It is.
And what's striking is that these are all qualities we can actually observe in ourselves and others. They're not just vague spiritual concepts.
Exactly. They're practical, tangible expressions of a life transformed by connection to something greater than ourselves.
So it's not about achieving some kind of spiritual perfection. It's about cultivating these qualities in our everyday lives.
And that's a journey, not a destination. There will be times when we stumble, when we fall short. But the key is to keep striving. To keep growing. To keep tending to that inner garden.
This has been incredibly insightful.
I'm glad.
But I'm wondering if we can go even deeper. How can we ensure those fruits aren't just something we admire from afar, but actually cultivate them within ourselves?
That's a great question. And one that deserves its own deep dive.
All right.
Let's take a short break and then come back ready to explore that in more detail.
This is my only favorite station.
All right, we're back and ready to tackle this big question. How do we actually cultivate these fruits of the spirit that Lemawona is talking about? They sound great in theory, But how do we make them a reality in our lives?
Yeah, it's a question that's challenged spiritual seekers for centuries.
Right.
But I think Limawana offers a surprisingly grounded approach.
Okay.
He doesn't give us a list of rigid rules or complicated rituals. Instead, he points us back to that core idea of aligning our outer lives with our inner transformation.
It's not about adding more things to our to-do list.
Right.
It's about shifting our focus and our intention.
Exactly. Remember that powerful phrase he uses? The flesh should not take precedence over the things of the spirit.
Right.
That's the guiding principle here.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we have a choice in every moment to act from a place of ego or from a place of spirit.
And those choices, those seemingly small actions throughout the day, are what ultimately shape the kind of fruit we produce.
Think of it like tending a garden.
Okay.
You know, if you neglect the soil, ignore the weeds, and don't water the plants, you're not going to get a very bountiful harvest. But if you put in the effort, cultivate the right conditions, and nurture those plants with care, you'll see the fruits of your labor.
Oh. So how do we tend the garden of our hearts? Where do we even begin?
Well, Limawana reminds us that it starts with those foundational practices that nourish our souls. Things like prayer, meditation, reflection, spending time in nature. These aren't just activities for religious people. They're practices that connect us to something deeper, something beyond the busyness of our everyday lives.
It's like creating that space for stillness.
Exactly.
For listening. For that inner connection we talked about earlier.
Precisely. And once we've established those practices, it's about bringing that same awareness and intentionality to our everyday actions.
So how can we infuse our interactions with love, patience, and kindness? How can we respond to challenges with grace and understanding?
It's like taking those fruits off the shelf and actually weaving them into the fabric of our lives.
And that's where things can get really interesting.
It is.
Because it's not about becoming some kind of saintly, perfect person. It's about embracing the messiness and imperfection of being human. While still striving to embody those qualities.
Absolutely.
So it's a journey of growth, not a destination we arrive at.
And there will be days when we nail it and days when we fall flat on our faces. But the key is to keep practicing. Keep showing up. Keep tending to that inner garden.
And remember that list of fruits Limawana gave us. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
That's right.
Those can serve as guideposts, reminders of the qualities we're aiming to cultivate.
You could even choose one each week to focus on.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And see how it feels to bring that quality into your interactions, your work, your relationships. It's a simple practice, but it can be incredibly powerful.
And it brings us back to that idea of aligning our actions with our deepest values. If we truly want to live a life that reflects those fruits, we need to make choices that support that intention.
This might mean setting boundaries. Saying no to things that drain us. Or prioritizing activities that bring us joy and nourish our souls. It's about creating a life that supports our spiritual growth rather than hindering it.
This has been such a rich and insightful conversation.
I agree.
I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of what it means to live a truly fruitful life.
That's the beauty of Limawana's message. He doesn't just leave us with a critique of our shortcomings. He offers a path forward, a way to live with more purpose, meaning, and genuine connection.
It's a reminder that true faith isn't just about believing the right things or going through the motions. It's about allowing that faith to transform us from the inside out.
And that transformation is something that unfolds over a lifetime. It's an ongoing process of growth, learning, and becoming.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this. What's one small step you can take this week to cultivate those fruits within yourself? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could be as simple as offering a kind word to a stranger, taking a few minutes to sit in stillness, or approaching a challenging situation with a little more patience.
Those small seeds of intention can blossom into something truly remarkable.
I love that. So keep tending that inner garden. Keep seeking that deeper connection. And keep allowing those fruits of the Spirit to ripen in your life.
That's right.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you'll keep diving deep with us
Yes.
as we explore more fascinating ideas and insights.
Definitely.
Until next time.